It's an ill mind that's still time build and refine. Still getting mine in the nine at nine. Build and refine, build and refine, build and refine. Still getting mine in the nine at nine. Build and refine, still getting mine. Geometric, 9 at 9. Sean J. 9 at 9. Stylist Chris. 9 at 9. DJ as 1. 9 at 9. 9 at 9. 9. Don't touch the dial, you heard?
Happy Monday, everybody. DJ Geometrics here. It's time once again for the 9 at 9 DJ podcast, the online show with 9 DJs on a roundtable panel discussing today's DJ topics. This show is brought to you by Beat Refinery DJ School at Bach to Rock. Learn how to mix, scratch, and make music by visiting beatrefinery.com. We have school locations all around the U.S. This is episode number 16, and we're dedicating this one strictly for the ladies. Very excited for the show. We are very honored to have some legends, some pioneers in this game. We have some of the best we've seen on the battle side, some on the turntablist side, some on the party rocking side. So we'll be chatting it up with them, with some of the best ladies in this DJ culture here tonight. But first, let me introduce the rest of my crew, my co-hosts. We got DJ as 1.
What up? What up? Welcome back, guys.
By the way, our dope routine you posted up on the DMC US site, man. Hopefully,
thank you, brother. Thank you, man.
Looking forward.
Finals with that.
Thank you. Thanks.
Next up, we have Sean J.
What up? What up? From Baltimore City. How y'all?
Yeah.
And finally, I'm going to pass the mic off to Stylist Chris.
What's up? Hope everybody's doing well. Trying to make it through this time, and I have to say we are really excited to have this panel and topic discussion tonight. We have 5 special guests tonight that have been performing at the top of their craft, giving countless time and energy back to the culture and using their platforms for positive change. We're going to be discussing all kinds of topics tonight, some from a straight DJ perspective and others from being a female DJ in this game. And we are honored, as we've said before, to have these incredible, established, esteemed ladies here joining us. And some of them personally, Geo, Art, myself have known for decades. Others we've been fans of the recent years, specifically with Beat Refinery, going out to NAMM and getting to check some of them. And we love to run them down in alphabetical order, as we always do. So without further ado,
On it.
our first guest is a DJ producer based in Los Angeles. Her sets are an explosive mix of hip-hop, EDM, pop culture with elements of turntablism and scratching. She has managed to gain an international audience, playing shows all across the globe from LA to NYC, spent some time here in DC, France, and her homeland of Russia. Her DJing and production skills can be credited to her musical background as a classically trained pianist, as well as her mentors Qbert and our brother DJ ID, Beat Refinery, original instructor. She has released several original tracks, including Make the Booty Go and Up in the Club on UFO Records, both of which entered the top 10 of Beatport's Trap Future Bass charts. And she's also been working on a number of remixes such as Jaquan Tipsy, Drake, God's Plan, and Saweetie with Kalani Icy Girl. Let's give it up for our special guest, Eliza May!
Hey.
What's up? Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
We have our next special guest, 23-year veteran of the underground hip-hop scene and turntablist community. She's rocked the decks across Canada, the U.S., Europe, Asia, Australia at some of the most prestigious clubs, concerts, and festivals to date. As a classically trained musician, getting a theme here, she certainly pushes the craft with a strong foundation, and her Sunday scratch sessions with DJ Manzo are legendary in Montreal. Her latest EP, Reckless, featuring the likes of Wasiu, Nate Husser, Sereni T, Ross Koss is a project that not only showcases her talents as a scratch DJ, but as a producer, composer, and singer as well. Let's give it up for our sister Killa Jewel!
Wow.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
So glad you're here.
Yeah, good to be here.
23 years repping that Jordan status, man.
That's it. Now our next guest is also, this is family to us, especially, geometrics and how far the relationships go back. Originally from Queens, she's a community organizer for nearly 25 years, is a people's hip-hop DJ scholar, believe that. She is Filipinx writer, poet, theater performer, educator, hip-hop feminist, and community global activist. She's widely regarded as one of the most legendary women DJs in the world. She's written for several anthologies and blogs, including a guest contributing writer for Color Lines and Racialicious. She has spoken at over 150 colleges, can you believe that? Universities across the United States. Founding core member and organizer with Asian Solidarity Collective and co-founded the People's Collective for Justice and Liberation. When COVID-19 emerged, she founded We're All We Got, San Diego Mutual Aid, and have served thousands of people throughout San Diego County with food, rent, and payment of utility bills. In 2018, she was titled a Global Hip Hop and Culture Ambassador by Next Level's Meridian International Center, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the U.S. Department of State Bureau Education of Cultural Affairs. She currently serves as the site manager for Next Level. I mean, what more can I say? Let's give it up for Kuttin Kandi!
Yes, you're a good reader, Chris. That was.
I mean, for real, our guests tonight, it's special, man. These guests have done so much, all of them, and most of our intros are just like guys just list a couple things because it's just that's what they do. But like you guys are, it's special to have you guys, and thank you, Kandi, for giving us your time and energy. We know you're so busy.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here, especially with all these brilliant, amazing DJs, including yourself. So I'm deeply excited for this conversation tonight.
Well, we're excited to have you for sure. And we have to say this next guest is another incredible DJ that I saw personally the first time at NAMM a couple years ago, and just was like watching her rock at all these different booths and just completely wowed by her presence. When it comes to skills, charisma, and energy, that's where this person collides in the universe. From NYC to LA and beyond, she's an asset to any event. She instinctively knows how to read a crowd and deliver a performance to unite the room and raise the vibration. A tasteful selector with technical skills, she creates musical adventures throughout transitions using tricks like scratching, juggling, and wordplay to seamlessly flow between genres and decades. Ride Toast is the perfect blend of pure talent plus dedication to her craft and an ultra-dope package. She studied turntablism with the world-famous Beat Junkies and Scratch icon, and our guest, we'll keep her name quiet for a second, a veteran yoga teacher. She teaches public classes on a weekly basis. She's poised to drop her brand new project, the Yoga Mixtapes, Volume 1, later this month, and catch her at any moment this star as she ascends on her inevitable rise to worldwide fame. She's a sound and look, a vibe and energy. I've witnessed it myself. Let's give it up for Ride Toast!
Yay.
Yes.
So nice to be here with all you amazing humans. I'm excited.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us.
And thank you for writing in the segue to our certainly not least guest, but the last one we're going to name here, and just personal excitement for me as we go back so long, and with her roots here in the area, and she is described as the world's premier female DJ by the Grammy Foundation, multi-passionate, world-renowned DJ, turntablist, music producer, and as well a very accomplished DJ instructor, record label boss, actor, voice actor, and published author. honored as Queen of the Scratch World DJ by DJ Times. 25 years as a DJ producer, highlighted by a series of Ladies First. Rolling Stone distinguishes her among the fader-flipping elite, and her pioneering spirit, inspiring talent, and long resume of accomplishments spark awe, gender aside. She's also taught thousands of others the craft of DJing since 1997 through group classes, private lessons, books, tutorial videos, and online DJ courses, as well as creating the first ever DJ instructional video series teaching how to mix, scratch, and beat juggle. She is our sister, DJ Shortee!
Jordan.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited. So excited to be here with all these awesome ladies and awesome DJs in general. It's just an honor. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, you were, we couldn't do this without you. I mean, you're such an ambassador. I think right off the top, let's just start with you, Shortee, and just a quick, we'll run it around to everybody, but just how did you get into DJing?
Well, I started out as a drummer. Another classically trained musician over here. That seems to be a theme.
That's definitely a theme.
I started out playing drums and percussion and piano when I was 7, and I was a total band geek all the way up through high school and college. I was in the marching band, symphonic band, all that stuff. And I was into hip hop and I was into electronic dance music, but I didn't respect the DJ at all because I was a traditional musician who could read music, and I understood music theory, and I was like, wiki, that's so easy. Anyone can do that. I play a real instrument. I can read music. And then when I was in college, I was going to a lot of raves, a lot of hip-hop shows, a lot of Grateful Dead shows. I was also really into jam bands. So I appreciated the DJ, but I still didn't really respect the DJ. And the scratching that I saw, no disrespect, but at that time, growing up through high school, and this is like in the 80s, 90s, right? It was just really basic, early 90s, really basic. So as a traditional musician, it was very hard for me to take that seriously as a musical instrument until I saw one of my friends invited me over to his house, and he was like, yo, my friend is in town. He's scratching in my living room, and you gotta come see him. And I was like, wiki, whatever. And he's like, come over and check this guy out. And I was like, all right. So I walked all the way across campus, and I went to his apartment, and I walked in, and there was this guy, and he was scratching, and I had never seen anybody scratch like this before. It was like all these Latin rhythms and syncopated rhythms and rhythms I couldn't even play on the drums. He was using all these different sounds. And he was a skinny Puerto Rican with dreads, and I just found that very cute as well. But that aside, we'll get back to that in a second. So then later that night, I was playing drums in my punk rock band. I was in a punk rock band at that time. It was a house party. And I was playing drums, and I felt someone staring, behind me, like standing behind me the whole time.
Piercing eyes.
And I said, yeah, the piercing eyes, right? Yeah. And I could feel them burning. And so I'm like sneak looks as I'm playing. And it was that guy. And he was standing there, he was watching me the whole time. And then he came up at the end, and he was like, you're a really good drummer. And I was like, you're an amazing scratch DJ. How do you do that? It's amazing. He's like, well, it's a percussion instrument. I could teach you. It's the same. You would pick it up really easy. And if that was a pickup line, it worked because we've been together for 25 years. We got married in 2001. His name is DJ House.
I was just going to say this literally.
Yo, that is the best story.
Wow.
Oh.
And that's how I started DJing. And he taught me the basics of mixing and scratching and beat juggling. But at that time, this was in 1995.
Right.
No YouTube.
Yo, that is ill.
People can relate on here. There's no YouTube, no way to see other DJs unless you were like watching a DMC video, right? Which was like a crusty VHS tape that maybe would play all the way through if you're lucky, or face to face. And so it was very hard to see other DJs. And I lived in southwestern Virginia at the time. I was going to Radford University, which is right near
Yeah.
We later moved to Atlanta and got in a crew with Craze and Clever and Shotgun, and we had our crew Third World Citizens. But at this time, there were very few DJs around, so there were no females at all around. So I hadn't seen any female DJs when I was learning right at the beginning until I saw Kuttin Kandi on a DMC video. I think this might have been 1996, around that time. And she was the first female I ever saw scratching, other than like anything really, really basic, like someone like really on the level with the guys. And then, but I'd never seen anyone beat juggling until I saw Symphony of original Beat Junkies crew, and she was beat juggling. So she's the first girl I ever saw beat juggling. But I didn't really get to connect with any females until I think I met Kandi in like the late 90s, in like 1997 or around there. And so I think, Kandi, I think you were the first female DJ I ever met face to face, but I don't think we never scratched together or anything. The first female I ever got to scratch with was Analyze. I just want to give her a shout out. She was going to try to make this podcast, but and so we got to scratch together for the first time. I saw her at NAMM in 2002. We argue about the year, but 2002.
Oh, 2002.
Yeah, and that's the first time I ever got to scratch with another female. And again, there's no YouTube, no way to connect.
Right.
So if you were going to like learn, you either had to know someone or you were just watching these DMC videos trying to figure stuff out. But that's how I started, 1995, and then but back then, again, there was no Flare, there was no Crab, there was no Autobahn or, you know, any of that, no Boomerang. So we got to learn the scratches and the new techniques together, Bobby and I, DJ Faust and I, together after the basics. So there came a point in time where, you know, he wasn't teaching me anymore. We were just learning together and sharing, and I taught him a lot about electronic dance music. He taught me a lot more about hip hop.
Wow.
That's the rest. I could talk longer, but I won't. But that's the beginning, the origins.
The origin story.
The oranges. The oranges. No politics.
Well, that's the funny.
But
the funny.
Yeah, that's how I started, basically. And then, oh wait, how I started teaching was 1999. I made a video, a VHS video.
Right.
It was Shortee's DJ 101.
You used to sell it at the DJ hut for sure.
Yeah. So, but that was the beginning of that.
Yeah, that, I mean, you've been pioneering since I've known you, and I was gonna say, you know, big shout out to Faust. You know, him and I, we grew up practically together, and we both kind of spent some time in Herndon, Virginia.
Yeah.
And you know, we got roots that go so far back, and it's always a pleasure to me when if we're somewhere random like NAMM and I catch Bobby, and then I just know, like, I only have to look a little bit to the left or right, and Shortee will be right there too.
Or down.
But you touched on it, like how Kandi is kind of one of the first female DJs that you saw, and like let's kick it over to Kandi, and you know, give us some of your perspective of how you came into DJing and the culture.
Oh, I mean, wow. Thank you, Shortee, for sharing your origins. I love hearing everyone's origins. I can't wait to hear everyone else's. I love hearing how people started, and I never knew a lot of the background about how you met Faust and all of that. That's beautiful. My touching stories. For me, I mean, I just grew up around music. My father was a vinyl collector, loved music. I was around it a lot. And then when I was around high school, I was around a lot of DJs, but I never saw myself as a DJ. I would just always go to party, all kinds of parties all the time. I was more of writing rhymes kind of person, although I always felt I was whack at that. I always tried to do graffiti. I felt I was whack at that, but I always made attempts at that. But I was more of a poet, so I do poetry. But and then one day, I don't know, something about going to some parties with some crews that I used to hang out with, and they were called the 3DS crew here in when I was in New York City, in my hometown, and around them, and just going to parties and watching them DJ as a mobile crew, hitting up all the clubs and learning from them. And then eventually I met Rolly's crew, his mobile DJ crew, Intrabase Productions, and I was around them a lot. And so then came the part where I just started DJing, but never having my own equipment. You know, like I had one turntable, another friend would loan me his turntable, and I had no mixer, like I had nothing. And this was also around the time my dad died too. And my dad, before he died, he kept talking about like this wooden mixer. It was like an old wooden CM607. And I had no idea what he was talking about. He was just always looking for it. And then he was hospitalized because he had cancer. And when I found it in an attic, it became a sign to me that I was meant to really be a DJ. And that sign was like, oh shit, I should really take this serious. Because my dad died right when I found it. And it became like a sign that I needed to DJ and take it serious. So I used that mixer to learn how to scratch too. And it was like the toughest fader ever. Like it would take
Up there.
like some kind of machine to move it to the other side. But I was learning how to cut on it. And then that was actually a really great thing because it gave me finger strength or some sort. You know? It was one of those things. But yeah, that's how I pretty much got into it. Been around a lot of DJs, but I didn't really think I was going to be a DJ because I was too much of the partier, get drunk, get high kind of thing at all the clubs, all the parties, and was just writing rhymes and thought I'd be an MC. And then eventually I just got mesmerized watching the DJs and fell in love with it. And I started learning how to mix and do parties, doing the weddings, all of that stuff. I started off doing weddings, sweet 16s, doing the clubs. Next thing you know, Rolly started competing. And I was like, I want to do that too, you know?
Yeah.
Right, but I didn't feel like people were going to take me serious sometimes just because it was one of those things where as a woman, although no one ever said it, it felt that way. It felt like no one was going to take me serious, that I was going to learn. And so I kind of really laid low whenever the crew or the 5th Platoon guys would gather together to practice. And we would hang out with the executioners, and we would be at Neil's house, DJ Neil Armstrong's house, and they'd be cutting and practicing, and everything that they were doing, I would try to start doing what they're doing. And then I would go home to the one turntable that wasn't mine, the other turntable that was also someone else, and that wooden mixer that I found. And I would try to cut on that mixer or do some beat juggles. You know, Rolly and I exchanged a lot. He taught me a lot on how to make beat patterns in its early stages. And I figured out the swing pattern on my own. And then the flare scratch, when the double click flare, like back then, again, Shortee's absolutely speaking this truth, where we didn't have YouTubes, we didn't have these kind of like places to learn. And so I just rewinded Hubert's tapes over and over and over to figure out scratch patterns all the time. And that's how I figured out the double click flare to flare, you know, and just keep on doing it. I was actually on the phone with my little brother, who I call him DJ Fat Fingers. You know, I was on the phone with him when me and him discovered that I was doing it. And I was like, oh, shit, I think I figured it out, you know, like it was some secret, which it kind of was in a lot of ways. Because you have to remember back then, East and West Coast, they always said back then in the 90s had different styles, but that's because YouTube didn't exist to kind of transcend different styles across globally. So I picked it up, and next thing you know, I just started practicing different cuts. And Neil, who was one of the few that also learned the cuts in the East Coast, along with DJ Doughboy, who Neil discovered, was in Cornell. And the three of us were the few in New York City that could cut. And then Rob Swift. And so I was just learning how to crab and cut, listening to Hubert's tapes over and over and over and over. That's pretty much my story. And I came out in the open that I was learning after 2 years. I laid low for 2 years quietly, not telling anybody, and did the very first table turn show. at the open turntables at the
Wow.
Poetry Cafe. Everybody was there because it was the first show. Apollo, I remember this day. Apollo was
Shouts to
there.
Doug.
Like everybody was there. Everybody. It was
Cuts.
like in that small little hole, like that legendary space. It was like, I don't know, like 300 people in that crowd up space, and all the DJs were there. And I did, a beat juggle routine, and just like you, Shortee, I also was blown away by DJ Symphony because she could beat juggle. So because of the video that Rolly showed me of DJ Symphony, I was like even more inspired because she was Filipinx, and I was like, I've got to do this. And there were other DJs too, like of course Jazzy Joyce and Coco Chanel, staple New York DJs, and Lazy K, who battled.
Okay.
When I saw Lazy K battle, I was like, I need to battle too, because she was fierce as a battle DJ. And she was like, and then it wasn't until I saw Symphony and I knew like, okay, I could do this too. And next thing you know, I made a beat juggle routine, and then I made a scratch set, and I performed at the very first turntables, open turntable event, table turns. And that's when I came out that I was learning how to do turntable stuff. And then I entered my first battle right after that.
The hell of a way to introduce yourself. One of the most legendary, known about, one of the birthplace of the second wave of the battle scene, especially in New York. And let's kick it up to Canada real quick and talk to Killa Jewel. Give us a bit of your kind of learning and experience, and maybe if it was different being in Canada, anything different from even Shortee and Kandi's experience.
Well, I just have to say that it's like a total honor being on the panel with all of these DJs that have totally inspired me since the beginning. It's crazy. And I feel like Kandi and Shortee, like your stories are very similar to mine in a sense that when I started, I was actually, I had a background in classical music and 10 years classical piano. And I was 17, I was going through a bit of a rough time in my life. And I met my first boyfriend who just happened to be a DJ. And we hadn't really gotten into hip hop at that time. He was playing a lot of techno and house, drum and bass, break beats. And I thought, wow, like, this is so freaking cool. And I needed an outlet to like, sort of deal with like, all the stuff as a teenager that you go through. So for me, like, DJing was a way for me to sort of vent a lot of frustration. And he and I would literally practice. This is DJ Mana,
Hey.
talented guy. He lives in Hawaii right now.
Shouts to Manning.
He and I would practice like 6 hours a day for 2 to 3 years straight. And that was like all I did after school. I would go back to his place. He had turntables, a mixer, and same situation. Like we were using, and I don't even remember what it was, a Gemini 626. Like the fader was super stiff. But, sometimes like working with these old school, old school mixers that weren't necessarily meant to scratch with, like, I feel like we gained a lot of experience and just strength and dexterity with that. And I do remember specifically, like up here in Canada, there were no female DJs that I knew personally, but I had heard of Shortee and Faust, and Shortee and Kandi were actually the first DJs, female DJs that I ever found out about, and were like total inspirations for me. And they sort of like, you guys like totally helped me realize that I could do it too. And I know it sounds super cheesy, but like, this is how it works. You see somebody who totally inspires you, who's been blazing a trail for so long. And at that time it was, I felt like, okay, I think I could I could do this, and I felt totally inspired to just to pick it up. So DJ Man and I only sort of started learning about hip hop in maybe 98, 99. Like, we were total, you know, ravers. We would party all night, and it was just something we sort of fell into. Man was one day, he was like, hey, you should check out this DJ Qbert guy. Like, you know, he has these video turntable TV. Have you ever heard of that? And I'm like, no, what is it? Again, pop the VHS into the tape player, and I'm like, oh my God.
Mind blown.
Crazy.
Like,
Yeah.
people are putting out stuff like this. Like, shit, this is awesome.
Like, what is this? And so the major I've always been, I was like, okay, yo, we have to, like, you know, we have to start doing some of this. And we ended up hooking up with other local DJs in the scene who were also sort of just getting introduced to, like, turntablism and the battle scene. P-Love and, of course, Koala from Montreal as well had also, you know, he was doing his thing at that time. P-Love, who started Table Turns here in Montreal, he brought it up to Canada.
Yeah.
Shouts to P-Love. He's in New York now.
Killa, he's the one that brought us up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely, he started that whole thing. And just like Kandi, Table Turns was my first coming out party. So
Nice.
Nice.
Wow.
I feel like it's really come full circle in a sense that, you know, you ladies, you know, you were doing it, and then I sort of followed suit. And then one day, I have to tell this story because it's just mind blowing. I was scratching in my mom's basement. This is after I'd, you know, bought my own equipment. I was taking it really seriously. I was playing, like, some bars and house parties and stuff. And I'm sitting there scratching in my headphones, minding my own business. The phone rings, and I answer, and it was Q. And she's like, hey, are you DJ Killa Jewel? And I'm like, what? I'm literally standing here in front of my turntables. Like, one of my idols is calling me right now. And so he was like, yeah, I'm putting together this DVD. It's an instructional video called Do It Yourself. Volume 1 had already come out. This is Volume 2. I was wondering if you would want to film something, send it over.
That's how that happened.
That's how that happened.
Literally. Wow.
I was, you know, it's those kinds of things that just, like, you know, they just, they're great stories. And that's kind of how it all started for me. I started battling. Battling for me was, I guess, a way to improve my own skills, and it really forced me to, like, hone in on different techniques and stuff that I wasn't comfortable with. And, like, I've never been much of a beat juggler. I've been more of a turntablist, like, scratch DJ. So that also kind of helped improve in those areas. And yeah, fast forward like 20 years later, I've become more of a music producer, and I feel like that for me has been a natural progression, and definitely a new passion and love of mine.
Well, and it's funny when you said, like, it may sound cheesy and you're describing these girls. I would say it only sounds cheesy to a person with a really cold heart, because that is the beauty of our culture and hip hop itself. And like, we're always taught to focus on positive things. So, like, those type of, that energy is what we feed off in our culture. And quite frankly, anybody that inspired by LeBron James or Michael Jordan, whoever it is in your life that's inspiring you to reach out of your comfort zone and become more than what you are, that's a gift. And we've even, on other episodes, we've talked about guys that have never met before that were on the show here, and they're like, yeah, I used to watch your videos all the time, Trays, to get inspired to go do a Red Bull battle, or whatever it is. And it's like, and they didn't even know. And then here, this person, Delta, shout out Delta in Italy, was like, became somebody we're all watching their videos, and he was like, yeah, I was watching his videos to make my videos, and it just that's the beauty and how it all goes full circle. And you know, we're just really fortunate to all do something we love and share, and like that's the whole beauty of DJing is you want to share it, you want people to, I don't care, anybody that like wants to just stay underground and that not share their art with anybody it's a unique individual in itself, I guess. But I think we all want to spread our art, spread the love, and you know, I want to let's kick it over to Rye Toast. Give us a little of your background. I know personally, last few years at NAMM, you've just been everywhere, like every showcase, just blowing it up, and just really impressed with your skills and your stage presence. And give us some of your story and background.
Thank you. Yes. Those have been really great stories to listen to, and I can relate to so many elements of each one. I got into DJing through an extreme love of hip hop music ever since I was a kid. And I went to school at the University of Vermont.
Okay.
Really close to Jewel. And there was this little concert venue there that a lot of big acts used to go to because it was in between Boston and Montreal. So you got to see like Wu-Tang Clan and like dope shit like that in like this cafe. So I was at that venue. I had a fake ID. I was there almost every night of the week. I always bought whatever records were being sold. I went to every single hip hop show and any other show I could get into. And then I went to see DJ Spooky. And
Oh, wow.
Wow, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Shouts to Spooky, yeah.
fucking back. Actually, my roommate was like, yo, we should go see.
Dude.
So I was like, sure, I'm always down for a show. Let's go. So we went early, and who was opening for Spooky? The Coup. So that was the first time I ever saw Pan the Funkster.
Yes.
Wow.
That was the first time I ever saw any female.
Rest in peace.
Wow.
Rest in peace, Purple Pam. And I mean, when she whipped her titty out and like pulled on the fucking record and scratched, I was like, holy shit, this is a job? Like, what the fuck? And I bought myself turntables like a month after that. And
Wow.
just was like, I lived in, I turned 21 and I bought them for my 21st birthday. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I got like the turntables and a mixer for $500. Actually, the turntables are still the one I use. And they're from Burlington. So they have like A-Dog stickers all over them. And like, yeah, and I kept them Burton shit. So I go home and I'm like, okay, I have my turntables, I have my mixer, but like I had no records. So I went out to get records, and then I went home and I was like, oh shit, I don't have speakers. So I went out and got speakers. Then I got home, I was like, oh shit, I need needles. So it was like this
Rabbit hole, yeah.
It was a rabbit hole, and the expenses kept adding up. But I was like, fuck it, I'm in so deep, I gotta keep going. So, and I lived with my roommate who was like really all in with emceeing at the time. So like we were just always together throwing parties, and I'd be DJing, he'd be rapping, and I could not DJ at all, but I just was like trying to figure it out, and no one really cared because it was college and we were all drunk. And,
Yeah.
Living your best life.
yeah. Like, not long after that, I met and fell in love with a DJ, and his name was Fatty B. I don't know, Jewel, you might remember his name or whatever, but he knew who you were, actually. He was a big fan of yours, and I was low-key jealous.
I'm not sure.
I don't know about that.
But you're really cool, so it's okay. Like, we're cool.
It was funny because when I started dating him, I actually like stopped trying to DJ, and I like let that go because I just felt kind of like what you were saying, Candy. Like I just felt weird trying to learn in front of someone who was already established and already kind of had their thing going. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not even gonna try. Which is really dumb, and I would not suggest doing that to anybody, but I was young. So actually, but I ended up working in a lot of bars and being around and listening to great DJs all the time. Like I was at almost all of DJ A-Dog's sets, and his stuff, like I still have some of his records and some of his blends and transitions and cuts that he got ingrained in my mind, even though I wasn't even touching turntables. And
Very important to have those experiences.
The listening and the environment, and like for me, I'd be bartending or cocktail waitressing, but seeing how the songs hit people, and seeing what worked and what didn't, and so it felt like part of my education, even though, like looking back on it, I know it made an impression on me, even though I wasn't like really trying to DJ.
Osmosis.
Huh?
You learn by osmosis.
Definitely. So then I got a wild hair at my ass to move to San Francisco. Actually, I think Neil Armstrong had to do with it, because I was getting all his mixtapes, and he was putting out mixtapes by other people like Vin Rock and like the Triple.
Yep. Shouts to Vin Rock, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was like, what is going on out in the Bay? Like, it just sounds juicy out there, and like Too Short put out Blow the Whistle, and the hypey movement was happening, and I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go. And me and that dude ended up breaking up. He cheated on me, and I was like, send me my fucking turntables and my never fucking talk to me again. I'm a DJ now. And that's like when I decided to go for it. Yeah.
In your face, dude.
Well, yeah. you know, something that jumped out to me is I love the fact that you have like this specific moment where you saw it and you were just like, that's it. And like,
this is a job.
Well, and not only that, but it's like, you know how many people in life just go through and never have that moment ever in anything?
Yeah.
Seriously. Like, that something grabs them like that to be like, my life has been altered today in a way that is going to never be the same again, in a positive way.
That's the beauty.
Of course.
If you allow yourself to feel it and go through it and really take accountability for the actions that you played in that, like I felt bad. I knew I was fucking up by not trying to DJ that whole time. Like, that's why I was kind of jealous, I think, of Killa Jewel, because she was DJing, and I wanted to be DJing, but I wasn't. So that was like my issue, you know? Once all that happened and I had the rage of like a scorned woman, I had so much motivation.
You know,
You're welcome. You're welcome.
The universe is, that's jealousy is the way the universe shows you that that's something that you should be doing. And I know so Rye is woo-woo with me. We're both, we're hip on the woo. And the universe is telling you, get on those turntables, stop hanging out with that dude.
It's okay, he's a douche. You're a douche, dude. Goodbye.
That's how I take it now. When I feel that type of feeling, I'll sit there and I'll look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's my shit. Okay. I can't wait. Yeah, so I had like a great kind of, you know, starting to DJ in the Bay Area. There's so many good DJs there, and it was a really dope scene to come up in. And like just get really inspired. I still am super inspired by a lot of the DJs from the Bay. And after a few years there, I think about 7-8 years there, I just felt like trying a bigger city. So I moved down to Los Angeles, and that's when I started DJing in a group. Tyrone's Jacket is the name of it.
Huh. Okay. Dope.
That really prompted me to start studying turntablism, because I went from DJing and like, you know, creating a vibe and rocking a party to like being on stage with like a really dope MC and guitar player. And I'm like, with my turntables, I'm like, I need to like understand more of like this animal that I'm standing behind. So it really like, and now I just feel more in love with DJing than ever, and learning more all the time, and just feeling like I can be more creative with more tools in my arsenal, and I love it.
That's dope, man. That's a great story. I think we you know, we all have in some degree an aha moment, but it's cool cool to see, you know, especially the three of you ladies, four of you ladies, all kind of have this really pivotal moment. And I'm going to take it over to Eliza, because I know, you know, you, even in your bio, you talk about how heavily you were influenced by ID. And, you know, most people know Isaac was a teacher at Beat Refinery. He also worked at Scratch Academy. You know, he wrote some of our first curriculums with us. I mean, Isaac and I go back to when he was probably like 11, 12 years old, coming to the record store that I ran in DC. And, you know, I remember.
I met him when he was 14.
I met him when he was 13.
I mean, he was already that little kid that was just wowing everybody with his love and knowledge of DJing at a young age. And when I remember when he told me when he was living down in Miami that he had this student, this girl, she's insane, and he was telling me about you way before I ever met you. And, you know, so I would like to hear kind of from you is how did you get into DJing? How did you meet with Isaac with ID, and how did that kind of transpire into your career?
Well, I guess I'm going to start from the very beginning.
Sure.
I was in music from my childhood. I finished music school, piano department, same as Killa Jewel. And, but in the opposite of Kuttin Kandi, I've never been a party girl. And I grew up in a very small city, 50,000 people. And we only had one nightclub. Plus, on top of that, my parents are pretty strict, so I never even seen a DJ until I was like 17 or 18 years old.
Wow.
At university, I was working on a radio station, but I was just turning music on and off and doing some like commercial breaks. But that time I saw advertisement about DJ courses, and I thought it was about radio DJing. So I decided to go and check it out. But it appeared to be about club DJing, and at the time I knew nothing about it. I couldn't differ genres from one another. I didn't know what DJs do. So it was like one of my first time ever seeing a DJ. And I'm like, okay, I'm on a vacation break, so maybe I just should stay and learn something new, because like I always were learning new things.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, why not acquire a new skill? And just one thing led to another, and I liked it, got my first residency a few months later, and decided that I want to know more. So for my holidays, I went to Moscow, signed up for another DJ school, and there I saw turntable for the first time. I know it sounds like very weird to
It's like a beam of light.
19 years old. Like I know many of you like grow up with turntables, but I've never seen them.
No, we get it.
There I started to learn how to mix on vinyl, but I didn't know about scratching. I didn't know anything about scratching. So after like 6 months of practicing DJing, I thought I was good enough to be at DJ competition in Russia. It was in Moscow, Delphi Games, and it's like one person representing a city. So I went to represent my city. I like totally failed. I just was mixing and had no idea that DJ can do anything else except of mixing. But there I saw scratching for the first time, and I saw DJs doing tricks and juggling, and I was like, wow, what is that? I want to learn.
Yeah.
So I did some research. The guy who won that year, I asked him to give me a couple of lessons to show me everything he was doing at the competition. So he helped me a lot. Like next year I already came back to this competition and I placed second. And it just, I got like really into it, and I realized that like I want to scratch. I signed up for DJ Cubert's online university. Oh. That was like my first time hearing about DJ Qbert. It's like a lot of first times for me. And yeah, I just was practicing a lot. I remember I had these boards with all the names of different scratches. and I would just practice each of them. At first, it was super hard for me to improvise. I would just do one scratch after another, and I never thought that I'll be able to start improvise finally one day. It was like really hard for me to actually learn improvising. So if anyone's struggling with improvising, you just have to like keep going, have to practice, and you'll get there. And yeah, and I was graduating university, and my parents gifted me a trip to the US. And I said I want to go to San Francisco. I said I want to meet DJ Qbert, and my parents were like, "Oh, you crazy?" Well, okay, whatever. And I just messaged DJ Qbert on Facebook, and I told him that I'm going to San Francisco and I would like to have a few lessons from him. And I told him that I'm at his university. He's like, "Of course, just stop by the office and like just like that." He was like, "You're my student, so stop by the office anytime." So I came to San Bruno, their office on Millbrae. Well, I was staying in San Bruno, and I came to the office. Everyone was super friendly. So I meet everyone the first day, and DJ Qbert would be coming to the office like 3 times per week probably, and showing me new scratches, showing me combos, and they just let me stay there all day long and practice. And I would just come for a whole day and practice 6 hours straight. I don't know how they survived with me, because I haven't even been using headphones. It was all on speaker. I guess they heard
every misclick, every just bad hand move.
No pressure.
So annoying. And for a couple of months, I was just going there and practicing for 6 hours straight, and doing pretty much nothing else. At that time, they also took me to NAMM show with them, and that's where I saw Shortee with Pulse for the first time. And I never been into shows like that, ever in my life, so it was like life-changing for me. But my trip was about to be over, and I really wanted to check out Miami. And I was already knowing about DJ D, about Isaac. I saw a couple of his routines, and I was really in love with his routines. So I messaged him on Instagram, and same way as it happened with DJ Qbert, I just asked to teach me. But Qbert was teaching me scratching, and I wanted to learn beat juggling from him. Because I feel like
guy, one of the best in the world.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I wanted to have beat juggling skills from ID, so I just messaged him and went there, and I was staying in Miami for a month and a half. But also then I just arrived to the US. I weren't even speaking English very well. I was even scared to say hello. So it was, but everyone was so friendly and so warm that I never really felt like I'm not home, From the very first day in the US, I felt like I'm home.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, but of course my English is still not very good right now, but back then it was very, very bad. So I came back home.
Oh, you're fine. You're
crushing it.
Great.
It's better than our Russian.
Yeah.
There you go.
Your English is way better than my Russian. Yes. Oh yeah. Привет.
And I came back to Russia, and I started to watch a lot of movies and TV shows in English, and that's what helped me a lot to understand, because I wouldn't even understand a lot. And next time I came back to the US, I already understood what people were saying. So again, another tip with someone learning a language, that watching movies and TV shows really help.
I got to commend you for learning. Literally, in my mind, that whole thing leads up to you're in the States learning 2 languages. You're learning English and you're learning scratch, like, you know, sound. You know, like, we know that music is a language, you know, we don't have to say anything. You get DJs in a room, you know, you start playing records, start cutting, no one has to open their mouth. The vibes are there. So that's amazing.
Hey, Art, can you do that combo that goes?
I think so. Oh, you missed it. Chicken about. I'm like, oh, okay. You know.
That's mad real though, and I actually, Art, you beat me to the punch on that point. But there's something else that I think is really interesting. In every conversation with scratch DJs, all the ladies here represent something in that is very specific that needs to be pointed out to a lot of the younger DJs. There's a point where you have to really put yourself out of your comfort zone, and it often turns into traveling to another city to link up with other DJs who are more experienced than you because you don't know where else to go to learn. And I think there's a certain like local or regional bubble that people can easily fall into in nightlife and just DJing in general, where if you don't push yourself to be uncomfortable for a little bit, you're not going to have those accidental run-ins at NAMM or a random Facebook message that turns into a chance to meet and link with Qbert, or everybody looking to Kuttin Kandi and Shortee and saying, like, those are the people that I want to have access to and learn from, and then having that opportunity to really connect. I think that's something that all the DJs watching this should really take home with them.
Yeah, man.
Sure.
I think I was just wanting to piggyback on that, taking risks in everything you do. So just like you're talking about more like networking or like getting out of your local scene or whatever, which is like outside of a fish out of water and stuff. But even in practice, you know, like taking risks. I know a lot of people won't try what they're doing, what they're practicing out, right? Because they just want to, like, no, I got to perfect it before anyone sees it, right? And one of the things that I learned early on is don't do that. Because and no matter how much you perfect it, it's still different lives. So if you also keep it's like it's another way of practicing. So take risks live. Do things that aren't like, that maybe you just worked on, maybe you just learned this new scratch, try it out, you know? I mean, and and you might get a happy accident too. You might not do it perfect, but something else cool will come out of it or
That's
whatever.
true too.
But it gets you comfortable doing stuff in front of people in a risky situation already. It's already risky when you prepared it, but if you're like improvising, for example, scratching, just go for it. I take so many risks, and not everything lands, but it's so much more rewarding for me because those risks lead to things that I never could have done if I had planned every single thing in that, you know.
Happy accidents, guys.
Right, the happy accident, right. So that's a great, I just wanted to back on that because that's a great teachable moment, is just take risks in everything, you know, calculated risks. Like, don't just show your ass, but, you know, don't be afraid to, because we're all learning.
Always have a backup to that risk too.
We all learn from each other too. So it's just like, if you just start thinking about, oh, this is a collective group experience effort, and we're all part of everything's connected. So don't be afraid to take risks, because you will get greater rewards when you do that, rather than staying in what's safe, whether it be networking or your craft or your everything in between.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's definitely something, like, throughout this conversation, now that everybody's sort of spoken and we know where everyone's coming from, that's definitely a common thread throughout, is that we've all taken these kinds of calculated risks and stepped out of our comfort zones and challenged ourselves creatively and professionally and personally. You know, moving to a different country is not an easy choice to make sometimes, and especially not knowing the language. But yeah, like I think if anyone's listening, and if anybody's afraid to, like, you know, start DJing or try something new, like, sometimes you just have to jump off the deep end and see what happens.
That's great advice. And I think what I I wanted to ask Kandi, especially from when you were, there was maybe one or two other female DJs battling in those era of the mid '90s, early, just the augmentation of battling becoming like such a heavily item in the hip hop culture. And would you back then, did you prefer showcasing or battling? Like, which one did you get more excited for?
Battling. I loved it. I still love it now. I pay attention. I may not battle anymore, but I pay attention. I watch everybody's routines. I still learn. I learn from all the DJs here who are still doing it, turntablists or battle DJs. I think that there was something about battling that was exciting for me, and it's funny because I'm not much of like in the poetry world, everyone's like, why don't you do slams? Because you do poetry. And I'm like, because I don't do slams. I'm more of a, it was very like, I just couldn't do slams. And something about the time constraints with slams too, like I just couldn't do it. I'm a very wordy person. And so doing words in poetry was another area of time constraints, not like DJing that get it under, like if you're doing a battle, back-to-back, head-to-head battle, 90 seconds, different things than a 3-minute or 90-second poem. But I think like with something about battle DJing that I loved a lot, just the feel and the respect. And it's a very hip hop thing to do. Like it's all about that cipher, that style, that grit that you get that I've learned from a lot of, and I was very much heavily involved and participating in a lot of the breaking scene back then. So I saw a lot of that, and I was always in all the scenes, MCs, the battle MC scenes, so I loved the battle, and there's still respect in the battle. And so for me, there was something about just feeling that. And I didn't really have any idea how much impact that would make, even till now. Like, I just knew that I never even back then saw it as like, okay, I'm this woman DJ, and I just felt like I want to make a mark and just do it as a DJ. And it wasn't until other women DJs were coming up to me, or just women in general, that I realized what a huge kind of pressure it was in a lot of ways. I remember the year when people were telling me, oh, you're going to win the DMC USA. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I was very hard critic on myself. I'm like, there's a way better DJs than me.
That's the artist in you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm studying everyone's techniques and styles and how clean they were. You know what I mean? And I didn't feel like I was clean enough as a DJ. I just knew I wanted to compete because it was fun as hell. Like, it was just fun. It was fun. Yeah. And some of my best battles were never filmed. Like, one of my favorite battles is with DJ Spectacular. I battled him in a head-to-head round. And I talk about it to this day because it was so much fun. My other favorite battle was battling Rolly, when we went to head, and I won, which is
I've heard that story.
I beat Rolly, and I remember that year too, because J-Ru the Jamager was hosting, and then he found out that me and him were boyfriend and girlfriend, that we were partners, and then he was like, what? J-Ru was out, like,
his mind was blown.
You just beat your man, and I was like, and to
bragging
be honest,
rights forever.
Yes.
Bragging rights.
And to be fair, it was all about what you were gonna pull out. I just played it smart against Rolly, and I pulled out, my routine. I had to strategize because I knew his set, he knew my set. I had to strategize what would win his set. So like, these are things that, like, something about the battle scene gave me that I didn't quite get in other spaces, but I still loved it. I still loved DJing at a party and a glove. I love DJing at bars. I still love that feel. Same thing even with wedding DJs. I love hosting a wedding DJ. I love being on a mic and being like, yeah, let's go there, like, I love doing that. But battle DJing was another thing, and it was exciting to me. It was very hip hop style, all about that, like, yo, I'm gonna call you out on your stuff, and we're gonna get to it, and then I'm just gonna beat you, but we're still friends. We're still good.
Yeah. Now,
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, let's go quickly around to everybody with just a quick answer, without too much explanation, but enough to let us know. But we want to know from everybody,
Rapid fire.
what's one thing you're learning or putting some focus on during quarantine in your musical repertoire? It could be anything. It doesn't have to necessarily even
Or non-music. You know?
Yeah, just something that you've been focusing your energy on. Let's start with Killa Jewel.
I have taken this opportunity, and I realized after all of my shows were canceled that I needed to upgrade my entire studio so I could start like live streaming. So I've literally spent the last like 4 months trying to figure it out. So that's one. And number two is taking the opportunity to work on my live set. So since I just released my EP, my dream has always been to get on stage and perform my own music live.
Dope.
What's the EP?
The EP is called Reckless. It was released in June and features some amazing artists, which Chris mentioned earlier. It's my first attempt at producing for other artists and collaborating with them to have them feature on my stuff, and like I'm super excited about it, and also a little nervous because I'm singing on it, so like that's also something that I got the microphone back here, so I've been practicing that, and hopefully one of these days I'll get to share it with you guys.
Dope.
Respect. Yes.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
All right, let's go to Rye.
You're muted.
There you go.
I was typing to Jewel, I need to check out your EP. Sounds like what have I been working on? Oh wait, what did I just do?
Oh, you're good.
Oh, okay.
We can hear you.
I've been working on my whole fucking life. Basically, anything that I find myself avoiding in regular life, I've been like dealing with in quarantine. So that covers a lot. It's like cluttering my whole home, cleaning out my computers, my music library, and as far as DJing is concerned, one thing I realized was pre-quarantine, I was caught up in a lot of work and business and engagements that I wasn't really passionate about. And I was just doing because I just was in the flow of that and saying yes and just, getting it done. And since being in quarantine, music has really helped me a lot during this time. And so I feel a lot more reconnected with why I got into DJing and how powerful music really can be. And it's not just about getting people to like, get lit or whatever. That's one cool thing you can do, but there's so much you can do with it. And so I'm really focused on only booking myself things that either, fucking pad my bank account or that I'm really fucking into, because I'm into both of those things. So that works for me. And only playing music that I really, really fucking stand behind.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I've been hearing, that's a theme for a lot of DJs that we've been hearing is, not trying to do the gigs that almost bring you down or make you not want to be there. And certainly everybody, like Candy's saying, we all love the wedding gigs. We love any of these higher profile.
We don't love the wedding gigs. Not everyone loves wedding gigs.
I like the paycheck.
Candy, who I guess I'm pointing to her down there.
Yeah.
Takes a special person. I just wanted to say that.
No doubt. Well, I think we all enjoy those kind of gigs that pay us what we feel we're worth. We'll just say that.
That pad the bank account like Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah.
feel like your work is appreciated, and
Yeah.
energy exchange of money is one way to quantify that. So
Yes.
that's one thing. If it feeds my bank account, great, but if it feeds my soul, that's great too.
Exactly.
Well, ultimately what I'm looking for is things that do both. And making decisions on work based on fear, that wasn't getting me closer to that. So, now I'm just kind of starting to get back out there again, but I'm just being a lot more picky with where I place my energy and my skills.
That's what's up. Eliza, what's up with you? What have you been working on? What school did you go to? Who did you call to go learn some
Other than the dope TikTok
exotic
right now.
during quarantine? Yes.
Well, I'm just the kind of person that really like to study, I guess. So as soon as quarantine started, I just decided that I want to do all the things I never had time to do. So I signed up for a bunch of courses on Instagram, marketing, photography, working out, self-development. So I had like 0 minutes available to even think about quarantine.
That's good. You kept yourself busy.
That's good.
Clearly.
And I never really had time to focus on any of that before, so it's been like amazing for me to learn a lot of new things. And I'm also working on my EP. It's going to be 4 tracks with 4 different vocalists. So I'm super excited, and I shot my first music video that's going to be out
Nice.
23rd of this month. And yeah, a lot of creativity, a lot of art, a lot of new skills, and yeah, I can definitely say that I'm grateful for this time to do all the things that I needed to do and wanted to do for a long time.
Definitely sound like you've been busy and using your time wisely.
Trying to.
And what's the name for your EP, Eliza?
Emotions.
Emotions. All right, I'm gonna check for that too.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a new genre for me, because I used to produce just club tracks, like shaking tracks, but right now I'm focusing more on like inner world, on self-development, and that's why I'm working with vocalists. And when they write lyrics, I ask them to just like spill their soul, and get like everything out. So it's like very emotional. I don't even know if it's the correct word.
It's on brand. That's perfect.
But yeah, that's it.
Shortee, what's up? What about you?
Oh man. So, well, before quarantine, I had already been working towards this goal that I'm going to explain. But once quarantine hit, it was like, oh, cool, in a way, not in that way, but just like, I don't have any gigs now, so I have no more excuses, right? And so we touched on this a little bit. I've been teaching since 1997, so I've been teaching for a very long time. And I've taught online courses. I have 22 online courses. I've been a head professor at the Scratch DJ Academy for 4 years. I've taught at the Beat Junkies. I've taught for Grammy. I've taught at Berkeley. So I've done the circuit. Haven't taught at Beat Refinery, but that's up. And I just got to go home to do that because I'm from DC, right? So I'll just come home once I can start flying again.
Always welcome.
But I've taught at a lot of accredited places, and I've written a book. I had a DVD series, so I've done all these things, and also private coaching. But before COVID, my private coaching practice was about 80% in person, where they would come here to my studio. Rai was one of them. People would come here to the studio and be one-on-one lessons, or online about 20%. And before COVID hit, I was already trying to figure out, okay, lighting. How do I light? Here, I'll even show you. How do I light the turntables and myself at the same time, right? And have multiple, screens with, let's see, so you could see the close-up. Oh, that camera's not on right now. But anyway, the point is getting all my cameras together. I have multiple cameras. I got and trying to make it be like you're in the room with me, when we're doing the online experience. So, because that's always been like, I'd rather just take lessons with you in person, but then you got to be in LA where I live, right? And so I wasn't able to serve all the people I wanted to serve. And one-on-one coaching, I should say, is my favorite way to teach, because we can get on a level that you can't get in a group class.
Yeah.
In a group class, you guys are teachers, you know, you got to keep everyone sort of in the same plane, but you can't spend too much attention on one or the other. And you definitely can't you don't have time to dig into mindset or blockage.
Look at this. I'm just like,
you know, what's holding you back. And that is like so much of people's roadblock to success. Whereas in the one-on-one coaching, and you definitely can't do that with pre-recorded videos. I mean, you could, you know, lecture to people, but it's not like personal. It's a relationship when you get into a one-on-one coaching experience, and it gets really, really personal. And so that's my favorite way to teach, because we really get to the meat of the issue that's holding you back. Sometimes we'll spend a whole lesson like barely scratching rhinos and just talking about the crap that's just blocking you and all these mindset blocks and limiting beliefs and stuff. But then that is a lesson that's a breakthrough. And then after that, it's just like, she's smiling right now because she knows she's been there. I had students crying, you know, just because they just need to let it out. And that is something you can't get in a class experience, a group experience, or a video experience. So before COVID, I was trying to get it so I could do more online lessons. And I got the technology right, like right before COVID hit. So I could hit the ground running, which I'm very, very grateful for. And so then when I had to shut down the in-person practice, then that's when I really, really have been, you talking about projects that you've been working on. I've been really working on building this online coaching practice. And now I have students from all over the world, and that's really great. And it's been financially great because as we all know, we all lost all our gigs, and before COVID, my ratio of like DJing was still my bread and butter of money, even though I've been teaching all these years. It's been a nice side hustle, but and something I'm super passionate about, and actually more passionate about than DJing. But financially, the DJing was still the main bread and butter, you know, financial money coming in. So when everything dropped, I was like, okay, time to like, you know, I can finally put my full focus on this. So in doing that, also one of my dreams has been to do an interactive coaching program online. And it's something that I've participated in, not with DJing, but with Eliza was talking about, you know, marketing courses, online courses, business courses. Like I am an online course junkie. Like I take all these courses, and some of the best ones are interactive, where you have the pre-recorded content, but then you also got the Q&As every week, and you got that interaction with the coach or the teacher, and you can get actual feedback, you know, that you can't normally get on a pre-recorded online course or even sometimes on a membership. So this whole quarantine, I've been working on 2 interactive coaching programs that are, one's for mixing and one's for scratching, that I've been working towards for years, but now I finally, because there's no gigs, I'm like, okay, I got my blinders on, I just get in my creation cave, and you might not see me on social media for a month, but I'm working my butt off on these interactive coaching programs, and I'm really excited about them. I'm hoping to launch the first one towards the beginning of next year, and then the next one, which will be the scratching one, a few months later. And then they're just going to be ongoing, so you can jump in at any time. You have the pre-recorded content, but then you also got that interaction with me. And in the hot seat coaching, it's like a private coaching experience in which we can dig deeper. So it's like that merger of one-on-one coaching with the pre-recorded and also the group experience, because community is still important. Community you don't get with the one-on-one coaching. That's the main reason why I suggest all my students also take a class, you know, because you want to meet the people. You want to get in that environment that you just don't get with one-on-one coaching. So there's good things on both sides.
Totally.
But good things on both sides of the issue. And so this is kind of like, my dream is to like merge the best of everything in an online space to serve the most amount of people, and also it's what I'm most passionate at this time. So I still work on music, I still practice my scratching all the time, and that's the other thing I've been just like nerding out on scratching because I'll always do that. But my main projects right now are those teaching endeavors, the online coaching, one-on-one, and then also the interactive coaching programs.
Awesome. And let's wrap up this segment with Kandi. I know you've been, just from when we were reading what you've been doing, give us more on like how you've been spending your energy musically, and also probably, I'm guessing, in the community, just on the front line.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if y'all know, I always try to say I'm retired, you know, like all the time, but everyone
Never gonna retire.
Everyone always tries to get me to DJ, so of course, people will ask me to DJ, and I'm like, oh, dang, now I gotta go out there, I gotta do this. So, you know, I mean, I when people call me to, that's when I'll do it. I don't actively say, hey, get me on your set. It's not, because my life is so different now as a parent, as an educator. My work is organizing work. I've co-founded multiple organizations here locally in San Diego, where I now reside, in Kumie. And I work like 60 hours a week. You know, my organizing work takes up my life, but I love to still be creative. That's why I watch everyone's sets. I get so, it's like I reminisce, you know, like when I used to compete, and I love watching everyone's videos. Shortee, I always watch your sets, you know, all the time, your scratch sessions, your little short videos. I watched Jewel, like I already knew you got something coming out, so I was excited to try to support that. Like I pay attention all the time. It's never a time where I don't know what someone's doing already. But does that mean I'll go back to competing or, you know, being out there in the full front? I don't know. I never say never. I never say never. Let me say that. But my life is just so different as what I'm dedicated to right now. In my life currently as an organizer, as a full-time organizer, it's what I do. And so for me, it's 24, every minute, you know, I mean, something is happening. We're in a crisis here, you know, when COVID-19 hit, we, you know, here locally, we had to look out for our people in our community. So me and our co-founders, we started a mutual aid group. And then I've been doing political ed series too, workshops nationally, especially when anti-Asian racism was escalating when COVID-19 first emerged too. So I had to do, me and my colleague Greg Sandana, we started town halls, and next thing you know, we started a university, and next thing you know, like it was just a lot of stuff. And then on top of that, you know, I'm also I co-founded a bail fund group 2 years ago. So we're bailing out our activists out in the front lines, you know what I mean? So this is the work, I mean, to protect our communities. And as an artist, you know, hip hop always taught me about organizing, you know. I will never forget those lessons from a lot of the pioneers in my life who influenced that greatly for me, and always to give back to the community. And understanding my place and my role as an Asian person in a lineage of hip hop culture rooted in Black culture and history was very, very important for me. How do I show up in solidarity? And for me as an organizer, that's where I've committed my life to. And I still do music. So of course, you know, when students will ask me to DJ, I force myself to, you know. Our graduation party for the students that I had the summer course, I taught a course with at UC Davis for 6 weeks, summer seminar course, all on social justice and organizing. And it was 3 days a week for like 3 hours, 3 days a week on top of my organizing work. And students are like, okay, now all the instructors got to perform. And I'm like, what? No, don't do this to me. My rusty ass, y'all gonna put me up on a set. No. So it forces me. Even when we did our 5th platoon reunion a year ago, all of us in our crew were like, oh, hell no, we're rusty, you know? But it's so much joy. It really is. Like, I still love doing it. I still have my setup. I still practice when I can. and just enjoy watching everybody now. This generation brings me joy. Not with the wooden mixer. Oh hell no.
No, actually, I remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. That night in New York wasn't that the first time you've been back to New York in years? Was it something like that?
Well, at least a couple of years. Like the last time I was there was 2013. So
Like-
a good couple of, like maybe 4 years. At
Okay.
least.
It had been a while. You try to. I remember something. If you don't have to go, it's not a thing.
I really don't want to go there, especially during the winter. I told my mom, because my mom and my sister still live out there, and I'm like, you're not bringing me here for the holidays.
Yeah.
I am not a winter person anymore.
Yes.
I'm just really not. So I'm very used to the sun, 70-degree weather every day.
You've been spoiled, but you deserve it.
Spoiled by paradise.
Spoiled by paradise.
Wow. Well, everybody, our time is up. This episode went a little bit over time, but definitely lots of awesome stuff there. That's going to do it for us for part 1 of this episode. We'll be back next week, Monday night, 9 p.m. East Coast time with part 2, along with the same group of ladies we have here tonight. We're going to talk more with them and get into, some deeper topics. Again, this show is brought to you by Beat Refinery DJ School at Bach to Rock. Learn how to mix, scratch, and make music by visiting beatrefinery.com. We have school locations all over the U.S. If you missed any of our episodes, you can watch our past shows on facebook.com/beatrefinery or youtube.com/beatrefinery. If you prefer to listen to the audio side of things, this episode will be uploaded this Thursday to Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you consume and listen to all things podcasts. So make sure to click like, comment, and subscribe to all of our different platforms, whichever you prefer. Thanks again to everybody for tuning in. Election season is happening right now, so make sure to vote, guys. Vote,
We're gonna
vote,
keep
vote.
reminding you. We're gonna keep reminding you.
Keep wearing a mask, spread some love. We'll see you guys next week. So everybody say peace.
Peace.